Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content.
Hello, Super E Nation. It's your humble servant, A-Train. And I'm here with the king, Super E.
Thanks. So is that, are you saying you're my queen? Cut that.
Queen, maybe just a sub. Just
okay.
A subordinate.
All right.
All right. What's happening with you, King?
Oh, nothing. They got something out here called the Covered Bridge Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Which means everything is effed up. Can't go anywhere.
I see. You really enjoy the fall season then. Yeah.
I enjoy the fall season until they start doing this shit.
Yeah, I get it.
Then it's irritating.
I get it. What are you going to tell us today?
We're going to talk about sometimes when you're a policeman, you only have a split second to read a situation.
Right.
And sometimes you might misread it.
It's been known to happen.
Yeah. It's been known to happen. And what happened, this is when I was in uniform, a young officer, and we got a neighbor's called about a possible domestic they was hearing next door.
Okay.
Screaming, fighting, and all this shit.
Right.
So we go out there, and I was like right on the street, so I'm immediately there. So as I'm walking up, my backup's not there yet. So as I'm kind of walking up, assessing the situation,
okay.
I hear a bunch of noise on the inside. So I walk up, and I'm opening up the screen door, so I can kind of hear what's going on. And right then, the front door opens up.
Okay.
And there's a dude, and it appears like he's got both hands around the neck of this girl, like he's strangling her.
Wow.
And the girl was very petite. She looked like a George Sector Lola Falana.
Okay.
And if you've seen Lola Falana, you know that I was immediately in love with her.
I used to love her.
Yes. So I'm thinking, this dude's about to snap her neck, and they're right there in the doorway.
Okay.
So I'm right there. He's right there. He's got his hands on her throat, both hands on her throat. And I'm like, man, I got to do something fast. I don't want him to, snap her neck.
Right.
So I'm going to do a defensive strike. Boom, hit him in the shoulders and make him drop that left hand.
Okay.
And so I shoot it out there. Fist is traveling to shoulder. He turns and looks at me and says, Gonzalez, I'm glad you're here. And this is as fist is traveling. And I'm like, is that Alfredo? And he kind of turns his head, lowers his shoulder. So now, instead of the shoulder being the destination, the knuckles are heading to Adam's apple.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, I hit him, and he does a universal I'm choking sign. And I'm like, holy shit, is this not what I think it is? And then right as I'm thinking that, I see our George Sector Lola Falana doing a flying Superman punch right to Alfredo's face.
Oh, God.
And he flies flat on his back, and I could see his eyes roll back in his head, and his brain function went Control-Alt-Delete. He was done. And I'm like, oh shit! And she lands on top of it, lands right on top of him, and starts Conor McGregor and him into the afterlife. I'm like, she's going to fucking kill him. So I reach down and grab her. Now remember, she's real petite.
Right.
And I pick her up, and she starts flailing her arms and legs like Ernest P. Bass having a seizure. I mean, I couldn't control her.
Right.
So, remember how her mics used to be on her shoulders?
Yes.
So I just click on that mic. George 82 guys, stamp it up. And so I could hear lights. Woo, woo, they're coming. They think, man, Super he's having all kinds of problems.
You could hear lights?
I'm sorry. I could hear the sirens.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were tripping. Okay.
So anyway, I hear sirens coming, so I know they're coming, but she's still kicking like crazy, and she makes contact with the wall with her foot.
Okay.
Which her foot hits the wall, which launches us straight backwards. With her, I'm holding her in a bear hug with her back to my chest.
Okay.
We fall into this big big, comfy, easy chair.
Okay.
I fall back on it, and she stops and she goes, Gonzalez, I'm too tired to fuck up Alfredo anymore. I'm just going to stop. And she kind of leans into me, puts her right arm around my neck and her left arm on my face, and she starts kind of nuzzling my neck with her face.
What?
It's like I'm the bachelor, and I just hand her the rose. I'm like, and right then, the guys, my backup, they come busting through the door, and they're looking around like, what's going on? What's going on? And what I didn't notice with all the hullabaloo when I first came in the house, the lighting in the house was like a real romantic, low mood lighting, kind of an aura of pink.
Okay.
And Kenny G was playing in the background, you know, love is in the air. And so when my backup come in, all they see is a possibly dead guy on the floor clutching his throat. George set the Lola Falana nuzzling Super E's. And they can hear Kenny G playing, and the lights are low. And they're like, what the fuck? We thought you were all kinds of trouble. And there's a dead guy here, and you're making out with this chick. I go, okay, that's not what happened. I go, if you was in here just 1 second earlier, she had just lost her shit, was jackhammering his jaw, and then she was like a plane propeller going 100 miles an hour around me trying to hang on to her. I said, she kicked me back. We fell onto this couch. And they're just, one of the officers, Brian, God rest his soul, he's passed. He was standing with his arm folded like, yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, Gonzalez, I'm just so tired. I like resting right here. And I was like, baby, you got to get up. You're making me look kind of bad. And then Alfredo, he comes back to life, and they finally get up, and they're like, you okay? And it's like, he looks at me and goes, damn, Gonzalez, she was punching my lights out. I was just holding her back. And then you punched me in the throat. I said, Alfredo, I'm so sorry. I said, it looked like you were strangling her. And he goes, well, it kind of did, but that's the only way I could keep her off me. And I said, George Sector Lola Falana, tell my backup. She goes, yeah, it's like, I was kicking the fucking shit out of him because he smelled like another woman's perfume. All of a sudden, she just picked up on that.
Oh.
And she lost her shit. And, Alfredo was like, man, Gonzalez, she turned into Tasmanian devil. It was like fists, knuckles, and fury. And I only way I could hold her back was hold her by the throat, and then, I opened the door thinking you're going to save me, and then you knocked me out.
So
like,
was Alfredo cool with you when it was all over?
Yeah, see, he knew he's seen me around, and I said, I apologized to him, and he goes, Gonzalez, man, don't sweat it. It was a different time back then.
Yes, it was.
It was a different time because I knew Alfredo, he knew me, because we were in contact with people all the time.
Yeah.
We knew the people on our district.
Exactly.
And everything and then I would see him later on, and we'd laugh about it. You'd be like, man, that bitch, man, she was beat out.
Gonzalez, remember that time you punched me right in the throat?
Yeah. I said, you're glad it wasn't your scrotum 10-4.
So, and that's true. So you come in the door, you're hearing all this yelling and all this. You see the guy, what appears he's choking a woman out. You got to react. You reacted. Your aim was just a little off, but you were trying to get him to release her. You didn't know what was going on.
I was doing the shoulder strike, which would have pulled his hands down.
Right.
But when he recognized that I was in the house, he turned to thank me for saving him. When he turned, he lowered a little bit.
Right.
So his shoulder dipped, and then his neck.
He's looking right. Oh my gosh. Okay, and so when you're restraining her, she's going bananas, and then finally she just gets tuckered out.
She had the adrenaline dump. She was completely done, and then she went and be going from irate to snuggling, and
I just can't even imagine those guys showing up. They're thinking you're fighting for your life. They show up, you're snuggling with Lola Falana.
They did get. The next night, I walk in the roll call, and we're on the George sector, we're all young guys, and then the David sector was all old crusty guys.
Yeah.
But we all had roll call together. And so word traveled fast. So I walk into the roll call the next night, and the old timers, I heard you got a new way to handle domestic. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, you knocked the fucking guy unconscious and start making out with his girlfriend. I go, that's not how it happened. And they're laughing, because I'm 23 years old,
Yeah.
they're old grizzled vets.
Right.
They went through the 40s, 50s,
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is funny. So did you get Lola's number afterward?
No. Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
Negative on
just
that.
Kidding. So did you see her and Alfredo out together later? Did they make up?
I don't know, because I only saw Alfredo out and about, and we just laughed about that. But he never said what the status of him and George Sector Lola Falana was. But I had a feeling that she might have got rid of him.
Yeah, well,
because he was a rascal. He was a rounder.
He probably did have another woman's perfume on him. She probably was 100% right.
Yes, and I knew another woman. She would check for a scent on her old man, and she was a working prostitute, and he was kind of her pimp, so to speak, but he was a terrible one. Well, one time I saw him, they showed up because they would help me do drug buys. They both show up, and he has a black eye. I go, what happened to you? She goes, she smelled that I had Old Spice on my balls, and she knows that's one time I do that is when I'm getting a blowjob.
Okay, you're not talking about another woman's perfume. You're talking about him doctoring up.
Yeah,
I get it.
He would lather up his genitals with Old Spice.
Well, I mean, did he should have just reminded her, I'm a pimp.
Well, he wasn't so much of a pimp. He was a boyfriend that used her to get money for his drugs. But it's not like he didn't. He wouldn't beat her up because she would beat the shit out of him.
Right. So he was kind of a low rent pimp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Well, that is pretty darn good. That was pretty darn good. I hope our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did.
10-4.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to come back with another one. See y'all later.